Hello and welcome to Unfudge Your Marketing. This is a show where I chat with business owners and leaders about marketing mistakes, mishaps, and things that didn't go quite as planned. But most importantly, we share their lessons learned for you. I am your host. I'm Kristi Mitchell. I'm a marketing strategist, and I love working with mission-driven, client-centered service providers who have relied on referrals and word of mouth to build their business. And they know in order to grow for the future and have the impact that they really want, they need to finally think more strategically about their marketing. Today, I am so excited to welcome Stephen Larmer to the show. Stephen has been defining, creating, and building brands for Fortune 100 global advertising agencies, small businesses, entrepreneurs, and nonprofits for over 30 years. Part of his journey has also been launching and partnering on a few entrepreneurial adventures of his own, spanning multiple industries: advertising design, self-discovery, human behavior, cognitive-based marketing, and AI-powered enterprise-level global transaction software. Now he guides mission-driven coaches to create profit-driven brands that are so aligned and compelling they naturally attract premium clients and drive lasting impact. With that, I will welcome Stephen to the show.
Hey, Kristi, how are you? Good to
I
be
am
here.
well. I'm
That's
so excited for our chat today.
Me too. Me too. So, thanks for that introduction. That was wonderful.
Yes. There were so many great things in there. Like, I don't know if I can't remember if we've talked about this in the chats we've had over this year, but I have a background, like, I went to school for psychology. That was my undergrad. So I love, like, the cognitive based marketing, human behavior, all of those things. So
Yeah.
interesting to me.
Yeah, no, that was a really really interesting period of time in my life because it was two things. It was that part of it that was exciting and cool, but it was also the same time in my life where I was kind of train wrecking my life by having too many plates spinning in the air. That's part of my story that helped me make the transformation to kind of get where I'm at and doing what I'm doing today. So,
Awesome.
yeah, so that's a double-edged sword for me when I talk about that period of time.
Lots of mixed feelings, probably.
Yeah, exactly. I've made my peace with it, but
We all have histories. No
yeah,
worries. So I always like to give a quick shout out if there's a person or organization that gets credit for introducing me to my guest today, and we were just chatting about that before we came on air. We met at a Nexco event. So Nexco gets a little shout out today for you and I meeting each other through there and deciding, you know what, we should have a conversation. And now we've had a few conversations and, discussing ways we might be able to collaborate and refer clients. So we definitely have a lot of alignment. And I felt that even I already knew it going into this conversation, but reading your bio, yeah, this is why Stephen and I get along. I totally understand.
cool. Yes, I agree. Now, and you know what? I have really found that those types of networking events have connected me to people that I end up having longer term relationships with than just all my kind of digital reach outs.
Yes.
So I'm leaning into, as we move into this highly AI influenced age and digital age, I'm starting to lean more and more into, real person, real connection. So we can
Yes.
talk about that a little bit later too, though. Yeah.
Yes. No, I feel the same thing. And that is something that I have been talking a lot about this year is spending more time nurturing relationships that I've already started rather than always focusing on new relationships. Because I think especially, I don't know, there's something about maybe the time period. I'm coming up on almost 7 years of doing this. I think you've been at it longer than I have. Much longer maybe. I don't know if it comes with that, like over time, you're just like, gosh, I can't keep meeting new people all the time because I can't keep up with all these people. And oh my gosh, there's so many amazing people I've already met and I haven't talked to them in forever. So I'd rather, I think, spend my time getting, let's hop on a call. Let's catch up. What's going on? What's new? How can we support each other? That's been my focus.
I totally agree. I feel like I do better with relationships where it's okay to be more deeply connected with that person. I don't know if it's how I'm wired or if it's that I'm an Aquarius or like whatever the thing is that I could pin it on. But I can remember back at the time when I used to attend more cocktail parties, I would like meet new people, and like within minutes I'd be like diving deep in a conversation. And I can always remember people sometimes just step back and they'd be like, man, you didn't waste any time like coming deep. There's no chit chat.
Just jumped right in.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't know. I kind of feel like why waste time? Like, let's get to the good stuff.
Yes. Well, in that vein, not that this isn't good stuff, but our topic for today, I'm super excited. We were chatting about like what's a common marketing mistake that you see. And actually, I think this was just like on a networking catch-up call that we had. And I was like, oh my gosh, will you come on my podcast so we can talk about this? Common mistake that you see business owners making in terms of AI, right? It's all the rage, it's all the talk, it's all the negativity, the positive. There's so much information out there right now about AI. And so I'm really excited to have this conversation with you. Where would you like to start in terms of the mistakes that you're seeing people make with AI and the work that you do?
All right. So love the idea of talking about this. I think I'll start by saying, just to kind of protect myself from any, backlash.
This is Steven's disclaimer.
This is my disclaimer. I have not done everything that there is to do out there in the world of AI. There's so much of it, that's just coming at us, and so much of it that's unexplored, or at least unexplored by me. So this is not a blanket statement. And my views, my opinions about, interacting with AI is not a blanket statement across all of AI. I'm not an AI hater. I'm not here to diss on AI. I'm also I'm a huge fan. Like I'm very excited about anything that's new possibilities. I'm like a possibilities person. So I'm very excited about all the possibilities AI is bringing to us. That said, there's so many remarkable things, that it's doing. But I want to address like one very tiny, small, like niche use of it that I'm seeing, just kind of misuse, or just a missed opportunity for how to actually leverage it better.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, related to my world of building brands.
Mm-hmm.
And the work that I do, I build brands. The last part of your intro there, to repeat that, is I'm building brands for mission-driven, founders, entrepreneurs. A lot of them are coaches. So these are mostly kind of solopreneurs. These are not big agencies. These are not big businesses. They're solopreneurs, and they're looking for all the help and shortcuts that they can get to stay efficient and get things done, because we all know as entrepreneurs we've got 10,000 things on our plates. So I think my opening statement about AI in this small niche of use is, I would like to quote Rick Rubin. I don't know if you guys know who Rick Rubin is. He's a music producer back in the day, from when I was young, 80s. He's still around, still producing, phenomenal guy. But he basically said, and I love this quote, AI has no taste. And he basically is, in the world of creating art, in the world of creating brand, in the world of creating that distinctive thing that you have to be for your marketing. He said, if you had a script for a movie and you gave it to 5 different AI platforms, AI would go out there and it would source the most common, response, the highest rated response to that thing, and give you back, the director's view, for an AI director's view of that script. And if you sourced it out to Claude and Chat and all the ones that are out there, you would most likely, especially as AI gets smarter and smarter and more refined, you're most likely going to get the same thing back. Mm-hmm. Where if you gave that same movie script to 10 different directors, human directors, you would get 10 very different movies, 10 very different points of view. Mm-hmm. And I think that is the thing that I'm seeing happening with the misuse of AI for building your brand, or the next level downstream, building your marketing and your communications, is we tend to let AI do the thinking for us and just trust its intelligence too much. to the
Mm-hmm.
point where we're kind of unplugging our brains and just, feeding stuff in, and whatever it gives us back, we're going, okay, cool, copy,
Yeah.
paste, let's go. Because it's fast and it's efficient. And, especially if you're one of the people out there that's trying to leverage social media, like, we need to produce a lot of content. You need to produce a lot of stuff. We need to do a lot of things as entrepreneurs. So the temptation is that the speed at which it works starts to become the solution, rather than really thinking about what's it saying,
Yeah.
and what's its point of view. And I still believe, as humans and as individual, unique, distinct humans, we have way more taste still than
Yeah.
AI does. Maybe AI will get to a super intelligence that'll get, maybe it will. It's going to get to a point where maybe it can do that better. But
Mm-hmm.
right now, my view on that is, like, don't let it do that for you just yet.
Yeah. And this is another thing we're super aligned on, because when I teach my clients how to leverage AI, we are always starting with their perspective, their experience, their stories, like in their own voice. So I use, I teach and use myself an AI powered content creation system that relies on you feeding it audio and video content.
Yeah.
So you're not going to it and saying, hey, what should I be talking about if I'm giving business owners tips on marketing strategy? Like,
Yeah.
no, that's not it. Like, you have to have that strategy, which when you work
Yeah.
with me, you get that,
Yeah.
to know what topics you should be talking about. And then you're creating that audio video file and then feeding it to the AI tool, layering on examples of your written work, and then you're getting that created content spit out at the end that sounds very much like you. And you still need to review it and make sure that it's not throwing in stupid words that you would never say.
Absolutely. No, I think it's a fantastic tool. Like, no doubt about it. It's a fantastic tool. It's crazy what you can get back from it. And I love it for brainstorming. I love it for, opening my mind up to things that are not in my universe, so it quickly can give you new thinking and new ideas and different angles on things. And I love all of that. But I have an interesting story that helped this principle stick for me.
Yes.
Did you know, I live in Southwest Florida now. I was born and raised in Philly, but I live in Southwest Florida now, so we have flamingos. Did you know that flamingos, even though they're this beautiful, bright, luscious pink color, did you know that they're born white or gray, and that the only reason why they're pink is based on what they eat?
I will say I did not know that they were born white or gray, but I did know that the color of their feathers is a product of what they eat. Yes.
Of what they
I
eat.
know part of it.
Yeah, the parallel, the analogy there is, it becomes what you feed it, right? So, like, these beautiful birds are pink because of what they're being fed. They're being fed shrimp and the other, crustaceans, whatever else they eat, that gives them that beautiful color. And AI is similar, right, in that way, especially at least in our little world and how we're leveraging it. What you feed it is really going to depend on what it gives back to you, because it can't fill in the gaps. I mean, it'll fill in the gaps, but what it's going to fill in the gaps with is just like whatever it's out there scraping and grabbing and throwing in there. And for me, one of the most important principles that I run my brand and my business on, and I help the clients that I help with, is there's three principles. It's alignment, clarity, and profit. But that first one, if we talk about alignment, I believe that alignment accelerates everything. So whether it's, self-discovery, and we've talked about, that and the psychology, and, when you get aligned and with your soul and who you really are, it's going to accelerate the flow and the pace of your life, and, to achieve what you desire. Right. So it's no different with your brand. I mean, when a principle is true in one space, it's true everywhere. That's what makes it a principle, is it's based on truth. So if that's a true principle, then that applies for your brand as well, right? So when you have alignment with yourself, and that is then infused into your brand, so your brand is then carrying that alignment, that accelerates everything. It kind of clears the noise and creates that clear signal. So AI is not going to do that for you, right? AI is not going to be able to reveal your soul to you. Now, you could probably prompt it with a bunch of questions and ask it to prompt itself and prompt you with a bunch of questions and maybe sort of kind of get there. But at some point, you got to feel it. It's got to be intuitive. You've got to know it, and you've got to do that work. You've got to figure out, who you are,
Yep.
and what to do with that. But when your brand's in alignment, is when you have a really, really powerful brand, because it does a number of things for you. It grounds the brand in truth. And, as you mentioned in the intro, I spent a lot of years working for Fortune 100 companies, for a lot of the big agencies in New York and Philly. And, without throwing anybody under the bus, we made a lot of stuff up.
Yeah.
You kind of have to, in that world, that's kind of the way it is. It's storytelling, and storytelling can be based on truth, but storytelling can also be fabricated for impact. And there was a lot of things that had to be fabricated. And that's one of the reasons why I stepped out of that world. And now everything I do is based on truth. And, AI doesn't know your truth, so it's one of those things you've got to do that work first.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, once you know your truth and you're in alignment and your soul is present, now you can start to work with AI and probably get some pretty interesting things back. You still don't want to unplug your brain, but it will amplify that. But you got to feed it. You got to feed it good shrimp if you want that pink coat.
Yes.
So,
oh my God, I love that analogy. Can I borrow that?
Yeah, no, that's why I share it. I love it.
That's so good.
I was like, oh, that's a good one. That'll stick.
Such a good one. Yeah. So I'm curious, Stephen, because I know, again, right, like, because this is something I talk about a lot, and I have a masterclass that I run where I teach business owners how to do this content creation system that doesn't just ask AI to go create it for you, and you stay the thought leader and the expert. So, like, I'm very in tune with, like, how business owners are using AI in not the greatest ways to have it create content for them. I'm curious more, can we dig in more on the branding specific side? Obviously the content you create contributes to your brand, but I'm curious how else you are, like, specific ways you're seeing business owners use AI to build their brand that you're like, hold on, like, this isn't the road we want to go down.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of what you just mentioned. I think often people don't really understand what kind of those core elements of your brand actually are. And I think people also confuse, when they're not brand experts, marketing experts like you and I, they're coaches, they're solopreneurs, they're whatever, they're skilled and really great at this thing. And then all of a sudden they realize, wow, in order for me to bring this thing to the world, now I have to become an expert on brand, and I have to become an expert on marketing, and I have to start creating content. I have to learn how to be a salesperson. You have to do all these other things unless you want to team up. But if you're not doing that, and I think they just kind of get it backwards. I think they jump into tactics, and they start trying tactics because there's there's millions of people out there telling us what all the right tactics are and all the tactics that are dying, and the algorithm did this and this changed that, and now you got to do this and now you got to try that. So I think it becomes, there's a lot of noise out there, and it becomes very confusing, and we chase all these different tactics, and we haven't done that work that's further upstream, and that's that foundational level. So in addition to the alignment part of what I love to help people do with their brand, the next thing that I talk about is clarity. And what I mean by clarity is once you've got alignment on who you are, that next piece is, now how do we start to talk about that? How do we find the language to communicate three things? Basically, you have to know yourself, you have to know your client, and you have to know your value, right? So when you know yourself, you know how to talk about yourself, you know how to construct that story so that it resonates in the marketplace, so that it creates trust, it creates that connection, it's authentic, it's based on truth. Then you have to know the other side of the relationship, right? Like you and I were just talking, I forget if it was before we started or after we started, but we were talking about relationships and how you're nurturing existing relationships as opposed to constantly meeting more and more people. And, that's business, that's branding, that's marketing, that's that process of, establishing a relationship, nurturing that relationship. And that's the part where you really have to know your client.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the ways in which AI can actually be a really great resource, because it's a great research tool. So to really understand your client's pain, their challenges, their frustrations, kind of where they're stuck, where they're at, then understand your client's desires and goals and dreams and where they want to be, right? So when you understand your client, and here's the key thing, if you can find the language, construct the language, create the language that can describe the pain that your client's in and the desires they have better than they can express it themselves, that's when you actually have an effective brand that can make that connection and move that person to a place where they trust you, because they're like, wow, Kristi just said it better than I can say it. She obviously knows what she's talking about. She knows where I'm at. She knows where I want to go. Now this is someone I can trust to possibly take me there.
Yeah.
So I think when people are creating brands, I turned my stuff off. I'm sorry. When people are creating brands, I think those are some of those missing pieces, that we can use AI too quickly to fill in the gaps on that. So know yourself part is a very personal journey. Knowing your client, I think, is a very real relationship thing. Like I use AI all the time to help me do more and more research on understanding my client. But the best feedback I've ever gotten, the most powerful information I've ever gotten, is just talk to my clients.
Yeah. Right,
just ask them, or those new people I'm meeting, just ask them, what pain are you in? Where you want to go? So does that answer your question? I'll pause there. Okay.
No, it totally does. And I want to go back to something that you said, because this is like a hill I will die on. And I did not pay you to say this, come on the show and say this, but you're like, people jump to tactics instead of doing that upstream work of strategy.
Yeah.
And that's like, I say that all the time when it comes to marketing plans, is like, you chase a tactic like paid ads and you invest in that, and then you're disappointed because it didn't tie to an overarching strategy. I talk about this all the time. And so I love that you're saying it's the same thing with branding, and that this is where the trap that business owners are falling into with AI is just jumping to the tactics of, oh, I'm going to use AI for this, I'm going to use AI for that. And if they haven't done all this upfront strategic branding work that you're talking about, of knowing yourself and knowing your clients and having that clarity, like, then you're setting yourself up to miss the mark.
Yeah, absolutely. It won't work. Whatever goes out from, architecture, if the foundation isn't there, the building's going to come down, so like, for me, the foundation is that brand work. It's as upstream as you can get, right? Because building a brand, to help kind of clarify this in simple language, if you look at it, I look at it this way. Building the brand is identifying the soul of your business, right? That's why it's so important to know who you are, know your client. It's the soul of your business. So you identify the soul of your business, but that's strategic work. That's deep work that you have to do. And you have to get clarity then on how to express that, how to communicate that. But then the next step is what you're talking about, is marketing. And marketing also has to have that first step of the strategy part first, because marketing is the next step. It's like, okay, now that I know the soul of my brand, so doing the brand work is identifying it. The next step is telling people about it. That's marketing, right? So like, marketing's job is to tell everybody about this thing that I now know, and am convicted about. Now I have to get my message out. And there has to be a strategy behind that too, because the tactics, man, the tactics are like chasing, what was that game growing up as a kid in the arcades? It's probably still exists.
Whack-a-mole.
Yeah, whack-a-mole. It's like, you could just chase tactics your whole life and get nowhere. But here's a quick story for you. So like I said, I love AI. I'm investing in AI. I'm on a number of the platforms, the paid subscriptions, whatever. I also bought a custom made AI platform. I invested $6,000 to have access to this, to help me and my clients build their brands and do, their marketing. So this is built by one of the leading, if not the leading person in the brand advertising, marketing, business building world. Huge respect for this person. I won't name names because I don't want any bad press out there on this thing, because it's brilliant. It's an amazing platform and tool, and I'm using it, regularly. But I just built a campaign for a new product that I'm launching. It's a lead magnet intensive that I do with my clients, 2-day intensive. And I built a marketing campaign, a 48-hour, kind of fast action offer. This last 48 hours, it was up midnight last night. And I leaned totally into the AI. I thought, let's see what this thing gives back to me. I'm going to just do what it says, listen to it, execute. Boom. The whole thing fell flat. I got 0 out of the campaign. So
that is not where I thought you were going with that story.
I got 0 out of the campaign. So I haven't fully dissected all of this yet, but I just thought I'd share that with you just to say, I love AI. AI is incredibly powerful, but here's a tool that I invested a lot of money in, built by the leading expert at doing these sorts of things. And it didn't work. Now I'll go back, I'll refine it, I'll make the system harder. It's a learning process, like all marketing. But I was really surprised by that.
Yeah.
So,
oh my goodness.
I'm not sure where I was going with that, but I just wanted to share it.
Well, I love it because it's a marketing. I wouldn't say see, and I don't really like the word mistake, even though I use it in the intro for this show. It's a learning opportunity, right?
Yeah.
We make decisions; they might not pan out the way we hoped, but we learn something along the way. So maybe we're going to have a part 2 to this conversation, Stephen. Have you come back on, and we'll talk in more depth about that experience and what you learned from it once you have time to dissect it. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, our time has flown by today. I knew that it would. I am so appreciative of you taking the time to come on the show, share your insights and expertise in this space. So as we get ready to wrap up, I'm curious if there is any last piece of advice that you want to leave our listeners with.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have one more quick story I'll share. It does set up the piece of advice. It's about my dad. When I was young, I was between the ages of 8 to 10, maybe 12, which is like the 70s for me. I used to ride BMX and motocross bikes, and I would, take off into my neighborhood. I played street hockey and things like that. So I was always out and about. And in the 70s, that's what you did. You opened the door in the morning, you went out, you did your thing, and then dinner time, you came home. So close to dinner, my dad would open the door and whistle. And he had this insanely clear whistle that just carried. And
was it one of those 2 fingers in your mouth?
He didn't use his fingers. Yeah, that's a good one too. But he didn't have that one. He just used his mouth, and he had this incredibly clear whistle. And wherever I was, whatever I was up to, I'd hear it, and I'd be like, "Oh, cool! I gotta go. Time to get home for dinner." And the parallel to that story is my advice, which is build your signal. Not just a signal, because our brand is like when we put our freak flag out there in the world, right? The safest form of a brand is the boldest form, the riskiest form, because that's what gets attention. That's what gets distinction. When we play it safe and do what everybody else is doing, it's vanilla, it blends in, nobody remembers you. So the safest brand you can build is what feels like the riskiest brand to build, which is that one built on truth, built on your soul. It's highly authentic. It's scary to put out there, but build your signal, not a signal, build your signal, because anything else you produce is just noise. You're just producing noise if you're not in alignment with your soul and putting your signal out into the world. So that's my last piece.
I love it. So good. So many great stories and tie-ins and analogies. Absolutely love it. Awesome, Stephen. Well, very lastly, I want to give you the opportunity to let people know how they can reach out. How can they learn more about you, connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. My website is a great place to see some of the principles that I build brands by, as well as testimonials from people that have gone through this process and love it. So it's my full name, StephenLarmer.com. But what I do want to offer to your audience, anybody that's listening, is normally it's a paid brand audit. It's a 45-minute phone call where we can talk and I can learn about your brand and I can see where there's some blind spots or some gaps, and bring some clarity around, how you can rethink that and reinvent it. But it's a 45-minute call, and I want to offer it to your audience complimentary. So hopefully there'll be some place where we can drop in a link so
For
that they
sure.
can, click through and book that time and jump on a call. And we can have a conversation.
That's awesome. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. That's such a generous offer. I
You're
love it.
welcome. Yeah.
Very cool. Oh, I feel like my audience is like the VIPs right now getting access to that. That's so great.
Nice.
Thank you so much, Stephen. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on the show and share everything with our audience. And yeah, I definitely think there's going to be a part 2 in our future.
I love that. I love that. Thanks for having me. It was really fantastic. Always fantastic, chatting with you. So hopefully there's some nuggets in here that your audience can take away.
Yes, I definitely think there are. So thank you again so much for coming on. And